Yes. So you are able to see, are you able to see the whiteboard, white screen? Okay, right. Uh, okay. So what I was saying, see how things work, how things change. So there is a public or society, and the need of the public, need of the societies will keep on changing. There may be lag in the different zones of a city, of the country, or of the urban or rural areas, but there is always continuous change in the needs and requirements for the things that they have been using. So the need of so the public need of the public is identified. So what we can say, the need or the requirement will keep on changing, so that has to be identified. So obviously requirement of the public or of the customers. This is done through the suitable market research. And once we know the kind of things that are being required, that public is looking for, so based on those, the suitable product design features are incorporated, or suitable products with the required design features are designed and developed. So the next stage here is the design. Considering these needs and requirements, the products are designed for the features, functionalities, etc. Okay, so functionality. And once the product has been designed, you have to manufacture. So the next step here is the procurement of material. Let us arrange the things that you need to manufacture. So the procurement is the third stage. Once if you have procured the material which should be used for the manufacturing, let us arrange the processes to be used. Manufacturing processes or the tools that you need are arranged, material and then processes. And once these things are arranged, you go for manufacturing, you go for production. Once the product is manufactured, you check it for its suitability, if it is really as per the design. So inspection and testing of the manufactured products is carried out. And once this is called final inspection. Once the product is tested, then you can say the product is shipped or dispatched to the like dealers or the market. So here the customer will be using the product after obtaining from the market. Now these customers will give their feedback. Okay, so this feedback is used again by the market research team. So this is the kind of cycle. It starts with the market research, design, procurement of material, manufacturing process and system arrangement, then manufacturing or production of the things, inspection and testing, shipment and use by the customers, and customer feedback back to the market research. This is what is done, and this is where we are now. We are talking about the manufacturing aspect. We have the desired infrastructure, processes and the material. Now that is to be given a desired shape. Okay. Yeah, so you can see this screen, the first slide, the manufacturing technology introduction. So what we see, the first, so the first process, as you see, in the last lecture I talked about 4 or 5 manufacturing processes. Those were like primary, forming or shaping process, which involved powder metallurgy, forming and the casting. Then there was a material removal process which was like machining. Then there was a joining process, that was a welding. Okay, and then there was a regenerative process where layer by layer approach is used for getting the desired product, realizing the desired size and shape. So depending upon the material, and this is very regenerative processes are coming up in big way nowadays. People talk a lot about like 3D printing to make the houses, to make the ready-made product, to make the products very rapidly using the suitable combination of the CAD CAM and the machines like 3D printers. So whenever the liquid based approach is used, the material is in liquid form. It is the one process is stereolithography. When material is used in powder form, it is selective laser sintering, and when it is used in sheet form, there is a laminated objects are made using this regenerative type process. And when material is used in in wire form, like fused deposition in 3D printing, then it is like 3D printers are used for making the products. So these are the processes. So as far as the primary forming processes are concerned, there is you say there is a casting, there is forming, and powder metallurgy. These are the three processes. Primary forming means the raw material will be shaped very close to the desired final shape, very close to, but it is not exact, because these processes may not be capable to do that. So for final sizing, finishing, and the shaping, the secondary processing, after primary processing, the secondary processing will be needed, which are mostly in form of machining. Okay, so as far as the casting is concerned, these are the steps. So first of all, we have to prepare the mold of cavity that we want to make. Mold of cavity, mold is a cavity of shape of product that we are looking for. So say this is the product, then cavity of this shape is made using say sand mold. Mold can be made of metal or the sand or some other suitable material. So once the cavity is generated, what we do, we try to make, we take the metal to be used. Okay, for making the product, this metal is melted. Melting using the suitable heat source is realized. It may be in form of like induction furnace, arc furnace, or simple coal fired furnace. For low melting point materials like aluminium, magnesium, zinc, you can use coal fired, but for high temperature metals, induction and arc furnaces are used. So this molten metal, say in this diagram you can see the molten metal from the received from the furnace in this ladle. This is called a ladle. It is being poured into the mold. So this is the mold having the desired cavity, and this is the ladle. You can say the pouring ladle through which we are pouring the molten metal into the cavity. Okay, and this is the mold. This is the photograph of the system. So material, in this case we use heat to melt the molten metal, and then the molten metal is poured into the desired cavity, and after solidification you get the casting. So the process is so good that it can be very effectively used to generate very intricate, complex shape. Like the engine block is one typical example of complex shapes products. In automotive industry, most of the parts except sheet metal, most of the parts are made by this casting process, like carburetor, piston, cylinder, engine block, and number of other components. So this is one typical example of the engine block, where the product which is made by the casting itself. So this can be used, this primary forming process by casting route can be used for, say, metals or for plastics. Okay, so if you see its application, or the products made by the casting finds in so many feeds. If you see this group of the product, this is primarily related with, like you may see, these are pipe fittings for transport of the fluid of the different types, which may be water, which may be other types of liquid. And these are the products which are, or parts which are used in automotive industry. So these looks very smooth and fine, but these would have been realized, all these are cast products directly. But if you see here, if you see, these internal surfaces need to be very finished and smooth and accurate for smooth functioning. So including these gears are also made by the casting, and then desired finish and dimensions are realized through secondary processing like machining. So as far as the complexity is concerned, the major shape can be realized by the casting process, or by the forming process, or by the powder metallurgy through this primary shaping approach. But the size and shape is very close to, but not the exact. So for desired finish, desired dimensioning, desired tolerance, desired precision, further processing of primary shaped products produced by casting, forming, or powder metallurgy route will be needed. Okay, so these are like say some of the applications. So if you want to know more about the applications of casting, then what it will include, like these are the casting can be used for manufacturing the products from very small size like this to the very large size gears, which may be, say, from few grams to the few tons also. So from very large size to a small size, from solid to the hollow products very economically. So the engine block, piston valve, carburetor, wheels, etc. are made using this casting route. Okay, so this is one typical example. You must have seen that alloy wheels, very common word used in automotive industry. Alloy wheels in bicycles, alloy wheels in cars. Basically these are aluminum alloy wheels as compared to the as compared to that of the steel. These are light in weight and strong, so it helps in reducing the dead weight of the automobile. That in turn helps to increase the specific mileage, basically reduce the specific fuel consumption of the automobile. So these are few examples. If you want to see so there are so many applications and advantages related with the casting, but if you want to see that what are the limitations of the process, okay, limitations to process or to manufacture any product using the casting reel. Yes, yes. So what we do, we make the mold of this. There is a like a split mold. Okay, so the mold cavity is created first of this shape, and then you will be feeding the molten metal from number of directions. Okay, so the cavity is filled in. So first of all, the cavity has to be created like this. Like this is the kind of cavity, but this is a simple front view. Otherwise, a complete three-dimensional mold cavity is created, and then it is filled in with the molten metal. Okay, so that's how it's very simple. A split mold is basically used for these purposes, where half of the wheel one side and half of the wheel on the another side, just like that. So maybe you'll see when you will study more about this when like the different types of the mold and how they help in when you will study the casting related thing. So as far as the limitation of the process is concerned, to shape any product by the casting route, you must be able to melt. You see, and melting depends upon the melting point temperature. So aluminium, metals like aluminium, zinc or magnesium, like say they melt at lower temperatures, like say 660. So these are low melting point temperature metals. Copper has got little higher, say 1000 to 1100. Okay, so a little difficult. And the ferrous systems, they have got further, like say greater than 1200 degrees centigrade. Maybe cast iron is around 1100 or so. So greater that, there are number of metals like tungsten, cobalt. So those which are having the temperature greater than 1500 degrees centigrade, so they will be more difficult to be melted. Okay, so the melting is the primary requirement, and your metal must be easy to get melted, and that will to a great extent depend upon the melting temperature. Otherwise this will make the job of melting very difficult, and that's why ceramics and high temperature materials which are difficult to melt cannot be processed easily using the casting route. So we'll be looking for the processing of those metals using some other route rather than casting. Second is we try to realize we get the primary shape only using this route, using the casting route. So to get the desired size and shape and finish, the cast products require secondary processing. So whenever your number of steps, procedures increase, there will be increase of cost, increase in the cost of the manufacturing, increase in cost of the product, because man, material, machine, everything will be needed to perform the secondary processing. So basically this needs secondary processing. Okay, when the shape is extremely thin, like say shape is the product size is very thin, or it is very complex, metal is not able to reach in every section of the mold. So you try to understand it from that point of view. Like you have a mold which is having very thin sections and which is very complex, so molten metal may not be able to reach in all the sections, and if that is happening, then you will not be able to get the casting. Okay, so when the section is very thickness is very low, or the shape is very complex, it is difficult to make the things by the casting route. Like thin sheets you cannot make by casting, that's the point. So when the metal is very reactive, a few metals like aluminium, titanium or Mg, these are really very reactive, acts very rapidly with the oxygen and forms their oxides. So this is a problem. So you need extra precaution, inert gas shielding, proper fluxing and degassing to make the sound casting. Otherwise casting may have lot of gaseous pockets here and there. These will be there in form of pores and defects. Okay, in castings there is always property variation from center to the surface. Okay, so this you can call it as a variation in properties exist across the section. These are sometimes very good at the surface as compared to at the core. Okay, and this is primarily attributed or due to the high cooling rate experienced by the surfaces of the casting as compared to the core section. Okay, so there is a property variation. These processes are good for low volume production, although like say very small products which can be produced, many products can be small size products which can be made like say the 10 pieces, 10 carburetors in one go, 5 wheels in one go. So if the size of the product is small, probably the even high volume products can be made. But when the size of the product is big, then certainly the number of units that can be made by the casting route is very limited. Okay, so depending upon the size, the volume, it can be high volume, it can be low volume. So mostly the automotive small size parts are made by the casting route, but if they are very large size, then they are made by other routes. Another one, depending upon the process, it is good for high volume. It needs the costly machines. So basically the die casting machines are used for this purpose. That's what is costly die casting machines, or the dies will be needed if the high volume production is to be done. And if the low volume production is needed, then maybe simple sand mold and the labor intensive industry in the labor and the sand molds. These are the two main things that are needed in low volume production. So mostly you'll see the foundry industry, like in Agra, even there are few in Haridwar as well. There are few sectors or few industries or few industrial areas where mostly you will see the foundry, like Biharigarh in Punjab, there is one Agra. So foundries means you primarily use sand molds and very cheap labor for producing the you can say the producing the goods. So it's very dirty industry also, because there is a lot of dust, dirt, and the pollution as well. So these are few limitations. Now coming back to the another one, you'll see the deformation based process. So what we will do, we apply the compressive force in most of these cases. Compressive force, in some cases it can be bending as well as tensile as, okay. So the desired, first of all we get the die of the desired shape, okay, and then the metal is pressed between the two dies so that it takes the desired shape. So basically the bulk material is deformed using suitable force by applying the stresses greater than the yield strength. For deformation, it is necessary that the ductility or percentage elongation of the metal is high. Then only you will be able to deform. Okay, once the metal is deformed plastically, its shape will change, its size will change. So these are the two processes. This is one forging and this is the extrusion process, where very large section is getting reduced by pushing it through this die, or by through successive forging in the different dies we get the desired size and shape components. So in this process basically the plastic deformation is involved. Whenever plastic deformation is there, you'll see the surfaces are getting deformed to the greater extent as compared to the core, okay. And as a result of this difference, what will happen, the surfaces of the deformed products, whether made by the forging or by extrusion, the surfaces which are being deformed more, they will be harder than the core section. So soft core and hard surface. So this is what we call as anisotropy. There is a property variation right from the center to the surface of the formed or deformed products. This is a typical example where hooks are usually made using the deformation based processes. So the rolling used for making the flat sheets strips, the forging is used for making the little complex shaped products, extrusion is used for making the uniform section products of the metal. These are the deformation based things. Yeah. No. This is the solid state process. Only metal is plastically deformed. There is no melting. The metal raw material is solid. You keep on applying the force using the die, so the metal will keep on changing its shape like this. Okay, like this. So it's a sequential process. Initially, you force the material using one die, then another die, then another die, until the metal takes the shape, exactly the shape that you are looking for. Okay, it's the solid state deformation only. There is no melting. Okay. So these are some of the commonly made products using forging based, using the deformation based approach. A reinforcing bar, you must be seeing this is used in construction industry. These are the number of products which are used in automotive sector. This is like, say, connecting rod. It's very common. And these are the gears. Forged gears are also made. These are the girders, and these are also, like, say, rectangular section, and these are the rails. No, the advantage of making these products using the deformation based approach is that your yield strength and hardness both increase, so the material's load carrying capacity improves. Okay, so means for the same metal it can take the higher load, so its ability to take up the load is enhanced. So that's the good part, and that is why mostly you'll see the crankshaft, connecting rod, or these wrenches, which needs to be strong and light in weight, because these need to be handled by the human being. So if these are strong, light in weight, you can easily use them. Otherwise, fatigue you will feel very easily by handling these heavy things. Okay, so these are some of the applications of the deformed based products. Now we'll see some of the limitations, although I have tried to highlight. So for realizing the deformation, what you need, you can deform the metal easily only if the yield strength of the metal is low. I hope you will be knowing the yield strength from the stress strain diagram, the stress level at which the metal starts deforming plastically, that is the stress, yield stress. Okay, that yield stress must be low if you want to realize the plastic deformation. Like, say, it may be 200 or it may be 1200, which means if it is 200 MPa, you can deform it easily using less force, less power. On the other hand, if the metal is up to 1200 MPa, you need to put in lot of efforts and you may not be able to deform at all. So you may not apply this approach. Another thing is that you can get from the stress strain diagram, that is the percentage elongation at the time of fracture. So right from the beginning to the end, how much you are able to elongate prior to the fracture. So this is expressed in percentage of elongation. This is commonly known as ductility of the metal. Ductility of the metal, say like cast iron, is just 1 or 2%, but say for aluminium it may be 20 to 50%. For some of the steels or even pure iron, it is 40 to 50%. So your metal must be able to, means what is the meaning of that? You can elongate the metal by half of its length extra before the fracture takes place. So as compared to its original length, what is the length by which it can be deformed? How much it can be elongated prior to the fracture. So material must be able to deform, so material must have the ductility, material must have elongation, and material must have the yield strength, low yield strength. Otherwise you cannot apply this approach. Okay, then we have whatever the machinery, like the forging machine, extrusion machine, rolling machines, for realizing the deformation using suitable machinery. You are deforming the metal in solid state. You need very high power, very heavy and robust machines, very heavy robust machines. So you cannot have these machines just for low volume production. These machineries are very big and heavy just to facilitate the deformation of the metal. So these are good. Deformation approaches are good for high volume production because it uses the costly machinery. Okay. Another negative thing related with the forming is poor control. You see, less control over finish. The surface finish is not really that good. That is realized just after the deformation, and the dimensional control is also poor. And if the finish and dimensions are poor, then certainly you need the machining to get the desired exact size, shape and finish. Okay, anisotropy, I have already talked about anisotropy, that property variation from the surface to the core due to the differential deformation being realized. The surface roughness is high, I have already talked, the surface roughness is poor. And if you are not able to control the parameters, control of parameter is poor, like say you have strained heavily, you have material has been strained heavily and not matching with its ductility. Then larger strains not compatible with the ductility will be leading to the cracks. This is the simple point. So if you are making the products with the crack, it will simply be discarded. Okay, so good control over the processing will be needed, which may be in form of like heating, which may be in form of number of passes to have the gradual reduction, gradual increase in strain, so that the cracking can be avoided. All right, so this was about the forming based thing. Material removal, this is mainly a secondary, mainly used for the for realizing the exact size, shape and finish through the controlled removal of the material. There are a number of processes like turning, drilling, milling, grinding and unconventional. So turning is basically used to make the cylindrical shape products. Drilling is used for making the holes. Milling is used for making the flat surfaces. Grinding is used for finishing purpose by removing the thin layer of material. And very difficult to machine, very difficult to cast, very difficult to form products for metal. So means the metals which cannot be processed using these conventional processes, they are processed using they are manufactured using the unconventional processes. So primarily so whenever there is a material removal, material is wasted basically. So the metal is lost, that is not used again because the material is removed in form of chips. So this is the loss of the metal worth. So that is one of the negative aspect, apart from negative approach itself, like the unwanted material is removed to get the desired size and shape. That's fine. So this is about the process, and this is extremely needed for exact size, shape, tolerance and finish. These things can be primarily realized through the material removal processes, which are called machining. Okay, so machining is extremely important, and that is invariably applied whatever the process is being used, whether it is powder metallurgy, forming, casting or even welding. Okay, so like this is the cylinder block, engine block, the final touch regarding the exact size, shape of the hole is being given through the machining. This is the crankshaft. Again you need the good surface finish to the crankshafts and cams. This is done through the machining only. Now coming to the limitations of the machining, like wastage of the material. As I said, material is removed in form of chips that you cannot use again for any other purpose except remelting to make the secondary material. Okay, the process is slow, it takes very long to get any product but since this is secondary processing, but it's fine. It's very difficult for hard materials. Hard metals, like if your HRC, let me give you, if your hardness is just 5 or 10 RC, Rockwell hardness in C scale, this you can machine probably, but if it is 40 to 60 RC, you cannot machine it so easily. Its machining is very difficult. Okay, so hard metals are very difficult to machine. This also cannot be used for many high temperature and many high strength metals. It's like the austenitic stainless steel, super alloys, titanium. They impose lot of difficulty in machining. So what we call it, their machinability is poor. Their machinability is low. So for these metals, we use the advanced or unconventional machining processes. Okay, whatever machine tools are used, really machine tools are very costly, so you have to make the investment, and for performing the machining you need skilled labor. So these are some of the negative aspects associated with the machining. The joining is another. It's like you use the simple shapes to get the desired product, okay, which can be in form of like fusion welding using gas, and here it can be adhesive, it can be spot welding, it can be soldering, it can be mechanical joint or brazing, right? So basically we are more concerned about the fusion welding, okay, in our this course. So fusion welding is extensively applied in the industry. Like say a typical car uses like say 4,000 to 5,000 spot weld joints. Likewise, in all automotive industry, the joining is a very integral and inherent part. And you cannot make such a large heavy pipelines running in kilometers, so you have to join the things, you have to join the pipes. So it's like a penstocks or pipelines being used to handle, transport the crude oils, etc. LPG cylinder, typical submerged arc welding for manufacturing the LPG cylinders. Ship you cannot cast, ship you cannot machine, ship you cannot make by machining, ship you cannot make by forming, but the simple steel strips, steel plates will be produced by forming, then all these will be joined by welding. So very heavy and large structures like ships, pressure vessels are made using the joining only. Okay, but the joining also suffers a lot due to the very inherent and undesirable features. What are those? And so this is one typical example as far as the size is concerned. You must, this was in news in last week, this was in news. Anybody can identify? Yes, so this is Evergreen ship in Suez Canal. So the length is how much, you know? 400 meters and full of so many containers. The point is, such a large engineering object or product is to be made. You cannot make it by simple rolling, forging or machining. All simple things need to be connected, joined together, need to be made seal proof, liquid proof, so that, and that is realized through the simple fusion welding. But whenever you perform fusion welding, it comes with a lot of undesirable effects. So fusion welding means what? You two strips you are welding through the fusion like this. As I said, both the sides, whenever you apply heat for facilitating the fusion of the edges, some heat will be transported to the underlying base metal, and this will be leading to the formation of heat affected zone. This HAZ will always have the properties completely different from what you had here, base metals or in the weld, and this is the main culprit in the welding. So the first thing, undesirable thing as far as welding is concerned, the formation of the heat affected zone, which has the structure and properties both which are not actually needed. At the same time, the joint is typically of this structure, so it leads to the formation of weld toe, which increases the stress concentration. Stress rages due to the defects in the welds or at the weld toe, even if the weld is sound. So the stress concentration, these things reduce the reliability of the weld joint. The joints, and whenever the heat is applied in very localized manner, so this section will be expanding due to the heating, other sections will remain cool at low temperature. So differential expansion and contraction will be leading to the poor dimensional control. It may bend. Plates may bend like anything. Like you started with a flat plate, and after the welding you find that it has gone out of shape by 1 feet. Now you cannot do anything. So those are all the difficult issues related with the welding, like the poor control over the dimensions, finish, and even shape. It's difficult. So you need to develop proper procedure. You see, the welding of, like say, 0.5 mm thin sheet, or welding of, like say, 100 mm thick sheet, both are difficult. You can do it 5 to 10 mm very easily, but when it is 0.5 mm, you apply heat and it starts melted. It melts rapidly and it starts flowing here and there. So the control over the pool is difficult. You cannot weld films and thin sheets very easily. So very thin and thick section welding is really difficult. Okay, and the lastly one point is about your needs secondary processing, because the whatever weld bead is created, that may not be good. So all these need to be flushed out from both the sides, root side as well as the top side, so that the smooth machined surface, smooth surface free from stress rages is produced. Okay. Okay, right. Now coming to the as far as the regenerative processes are concerned, currently these are not very matured as far as the technology is concerned for the metals. These are primarily currently being used for making the products of plastics and polymers. So in mechanical engineering, hardly the plastics and polymers products play a major role as far as the mechanical and the heavy engineering industry is concerned. Okay, so that the technology on this front is still being developed to make it more suitable for metals as well. As far as the other parts are concerned, other negative parts, negative aspects related to the regenerative approach is concerned, the very rough surface is generated by these approaches. One, very high initial investment on the machinery is needed, that is second. And these are good for low volume and high variety products. Okay, so these are some of the like say the negative aspects related to the regenerative process. So now we need to talk about your powder metallurgy. This is the last one of the forming process. So in powder metallurgy, what we do, you take the powder that we want to use, mix these powders in the take the powders, mix all these powders, and then put in the cavity of the desired size and shape, and then pressurize the powder. So the powder particles deform and they bond with each other. This is the mechanical bonding, because the powder particles deform under heavy pressure. It's not very less, but maybe 10 times of the yield strength of the metal. Metal's yield strength is say just 200. So you are applying 2000 MPa pressure. So under heavy pressure only the powders will be deforming, because they are very small in size. Once they are compacted, you will get the sham shape. But at this stage, After compaction, the product will have very weak strength because the bonding is mainly mechanical. The strength you will get from the metallurgical bonding. So to realize the metallurgical bonding, it is heated at a high temperature. This is called sintering. So during the sintering, the metal to metal bond through metallurgically will be created, and that in turn will be offering you the product of the desired size and shape with the desired strength. This route is very slow, very costly, very low productivity. Okay, that's why this is not this is not used commonly in place of, like, say, the forming, casting, welding. This is only used when the bulk material cannot be processed using the casting, welding, forming or machining route. But still, if you want to make the product of the material which are difficult to process using other routes, we use the powder metallurgy. Powder metallurgy is slow, but still, if you want to make the products of very refractory ceramic kind of the materials for very harsh and severe conditions, then certainly powder metallurgy can be used. But the major limitation of the powder metallurgy is this is good enough only for the small size products. Primary, the reason behind this limit is the size of press that you need for compaction is extremely high for large size products, because the powders need to be deformed to get the compacts, and the force requirement, pressure requirements are too high, and so the size of the product to be made by the powder metallurgy route is primarily limited by the size of the press, not by the other aspects related with this related with this powder metallurgy. Now coming to the choice, you have seen the casting, forming, machining and welding. We'll not talk about powder metallurgy, that is limited to the small size and is very difficult to process material. So if these are the processes, even if you put, like, say, powder metallurgy also, so what you need to consider, you see, these are the 4 processes available, 4 or 5 processes available. Which one is to choose with? Like, as I said, ship you cannot make by the casting. You have to use the simple plates using welding to get the desired size and products. Similarly, all shapes you cannot make, all shape products. So the size is one, what you want to make. What is the shape of product? It is simple or it is complex. What is the kind of the precision? Means every time the same dimensions and finish is realized. What is the kind of quality requirement, which is in terms of the properties, reliability, the finish, tolerance. So what are the quality aspects that you are looking for? That will be dictating a lot. It may be strength, it may be the reliability, it may be the cost. So the quality, property requirement, etc., the finish, the tolerance, and then availability, what you have with you, availability of machines and materials, skilled labor, or the labor that you need for manufacturing, that also has to be considered. Then kind of the environment, if it needs a special environment. You must be knowing that the cotton industry is located mostly in certain coastal areas only, probably due to the specific environmental conditions requirement. Just a minute. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about how do we choose. It's very simple. Let's say, okay, so what are the parameters important that need to be considered? Okay, So the parameters like the what is the product made of, you can make as per your need in the different ways. So what are the derived main factors or parameters that will be dictating, what are the main factors or parameters that will be dictating the choice? It may be the quantity, it may be quality, it may be cost, okay, it may be the metal to be produced, it may be the property requirement. So these are some of the quality or the volume of the units that are to be produced. So these are some of the factors. So you have to identify how much importance you can give to a particular parameter. So it's just like give the weightage to a particular parameter: quality, quantity, cost, the metal, property requirement, etc. Okay, so how much, what is the importance of the quality? Maybe you can give weight 5. If the quality, then quantity you can give weight 10 if the quantity is more important. If your cost is extremely important, you give the weight 20. If the metal for a particular application is crucial, you give weight say 10. Then the function for functioning, if the property is important, you give weight 8. Weight means this is the relative importance of the various parameters in selection. Then you have the various options that are available. Okay, what if you use particular thing for selection? So option 1, option 2, option 3, option 4. So how much you can produce using one option, how much, what quality you can realize through the another option, what will be the cost using another option, what will be the metal that can be processed using a particular route. You try to go for that. Okay, what properties can be realized through a particular option. So now this is the weight. Now these options can be rated in a scale of 1 to 10 or in a scale of 10 to 100. This is your own choice. That so greater is the scale, more will be the flexibility. Okay, so you may give the rating to these factors for these different options, and then you can multiply them. Okay, so maybe option 1 with regard to the different factors can be rated, all these options can be rated for these different parameters using the scale 1 to 10. These parameters have got their different rates. Okay, so say option 1 is being rated for quality, quantity, cost, metal, property, etc. Like say I'm writing randomly, say 3, 4, 5, 8 and 6. So you now multiply this 5 into 2, 10. Oh, 10 into 4, 40. 20 into 5, 50. Oh, sorry, 100. Now 10 into 8, 80. And 10 into 6, 48. Find the sum of all these. Okay, so that will be the total weight for these parameters of option 1. Now similarly you rate the option 2 in light of these parameters, then option 3 in light of these parameters, then option 4 in light of these parameters, and find out which one is having how much the total. The one having the highest total will be chosen. Okay, so in the next time, in the one more lecture probably I will take, maybe small half an hour lecture, 10-15 minute lecture I will take on the remaining portion related to the selection. I want to talk little bit more about the selection, so that I will be talking next. I have got actually another meeting at 6 onwards, so